Hey, everybody. We're live. Sunday morning. Here we are again. Hope you guys are doing well. Can you hear me okay? I did something a little different today, so hopefully you can hear me in stereo. That was the goal. Last week, you guys were complaining, and I switched up the system a little bit. So let me know if you can hear me better, okay? And I don't know, can you hear this? Can you hear the guitar? Might be a little low on the guitar side. Anyways, all right. Good, you can hear me. I'll try not to blast your ears today. It might be a little bit louder than usual. So, welcome everybody. Nice to see you guys here this morning. We finally have a bit of sunshine. I think we've had like, I don't know, 8 days of rain and clouds. Nothing but rain and clouds for 8 days, guys. And today's the first sunny day. It's still not extremely warm. It's only going to be, I think right now it's about 12, 13 degrees, but we're supposed to be getting to 17. That's Celsius. So I'm a happy camper that we're going to actually have some decent weather for once. It's been a while. What have you guys been doing this week? I missed you guys. I hope everybody's doing okay. We have quite a few things to talk about today. And last week, for those of you that joined the show last week, I did a little tour of the studio here, and I hope you guys enjoyed that. For those of you that participated, don't usually do that, but I often get people asking me like, what kind of stuff do you have? What do you play? What do you like? So I figured it would be a nice opportunity to give you a little behind the scenes tour of this room, basically. And I gave it took a little bit of time just to go through a few guitars and stuff like that. So I hope you guys had fun with that. But I want to hear what you guys did. What did you guys do since last Sunday while I was gone? Mark says he did a 3 hour gig last night. First time gigging with a migraine. 3 beers helped. That's never fun when you're not feeling up to it, especially if you gotta play loud music all night and your head's pounding like that. But if you found the magic solution, the beers helped, that's always great. Now you know that it works, right? Two didn't work, one didn't work, but three is the magic number, I guess. Jack says he liked the tour of the studio. I'm glad you enjoyed that, Jack. Awesome. Good to hear that somebody liked it. D. Smith says it's been 2 weeks of misery in New England, still barely hit 50 Fahrenheit. Feels like fall all over again. Yeah, I think a lot of places are dealing with like very crappy weather. And I don't know if you guys are like me, but whenever a couple of days of no sunshine and I'm already like feeling blah and run down, like the batteries need to be recharged. So I'm gonna try and spend as much time as I can today outdoors, just soak up some of that sunshine. Mark says ibuprofen and beers. That does the trick for him. Um, sometimes we don't think about that. As people that go out and watch shows and stuff, but you don't really think about the fact that sometimes the artist that you're watching on that particular night might not be feeling it. Maybe a migraine, maybe something hurts, aches, pains, whatever. But we're expecting them to pull through and do a fantastic show because we paid hard-earned money to see them. So the show must go on. Mark also says it felt like fall last night. It was 66 degrees when he started and in the 50s by the end of his set. It was nice, he says. some I don't mind the cooler weather because it's pleasant when it's not scorchingly hot or humid. Because then I feel like I don't have the energy to do anything because the heat is overwhelming. And being Canadian, I got ice blood, right? I'm used to being cold, not hot. So I don't do well in extreme heat. Uh, I'm a delicate flower, guys. Yesterday went to watch a Cirque du Soleil show here. They were in the old port of Montreal, and it was a great show. Very nice show. It was rainy though, rainy and drizzly. Wasn't pleasant to get there, but the show itself was amazing. They always do a fantastic job. I've been to see them a few times, and some of those performers, man, I tell you, they're amazing, superhuman even. Some of the things that they were doing, I don't know how they even managed to do some of that stuff. But it's thinking about that, like if you're going to be doing that kind of a performance and you're dealing with a migraine or a sore back or something, these guys have to be in like super condition, tip top. um I mean, even more than athletes, I would say, for what they're trying to do on stage. It's amazing. But I highly recommend it. If anybody has an opportunity to go watch one of those shows, they're not cheap, they are expensive. But no matter where you sit under the big top, you're going to get a great view of the action, and you don't have to spend a lot of money on the tickets. Even like the cheapest tickets are going to give you a good view, and you're going to come out of there smiling. It was fantastic. It was really cool. um, one of my favorite parts of the evening was more of an effect than actually a performance, because it was a combination on stage of water, like they had water and performers, and they had this rig set up where they had something suspended over the stage that would, from time to time, drizzle water down, like as if it was raining. But it was really cool because it was all computer uh, controlled. So they can synchronize the way the water falls. And in the water, as it was falling, they were doing patterns with the water that was in sync with the music and the performance. It was really cool. Really, it's the first time I've seen that. I wish I would have captured that on video. I would have shown you guys, but I didn't. I was so absorbed in the performance, I didn't think about recording it. So, but it was very cool. Very cool. All right, let's see who's here today. Shall we say hi to the boys? So Dan, Wayne, Cushman, um, Mark, as per usual, Jack. Who else do we have here? Zach. Hey, Zach. Good morning. Vinny's World, John, Eddie. Searching for Tone. Farid, Presley. Good morning. Profile Productions, Vox Guitars Rock. We got quite a few people in the house, so that's cool. Great. Jean Pierre is here today too. All right, very cool. So this week I actually did put a poll question for you guys. Hey, Orion, nice to see you, man. Good morning, Mark and Shane. How are you? Yeah, this week I actually did manage to put a poll question, and I did it early. Usually I do it, the evening before the show goes live or something like that. But this week I was good. I actually did it after last week's show. So you guys had a long time, a long opportunity to be able to answer those poll questions. So I'm going to look at that later today, just before towards the middle of the show. I'm just going to take a quick peek to see where we're at with that, how many people actually voted on that. Let's see. 282 votes. So that's pretty good. Okay, that's cool. That's a good sampling. We should have a pretty accurate reading of the question. I'll just recap the question for those of you who don't know where it's found and what the question is. This week's question was, what's your take on headless guitars? The reason I'm mentioning that is because last week I did put out a video on the eArt headless guitar that I reviewed. And if you guys haven't seen it, it's in the archive of videos, one of the 700 that I have there. And I was very impressed by that guitar, so much so that I've been playing it nonstop. And I don't usually favor headless guitars, but that one's different. It actually feels fun to play. So I'm having a good time with that, and I'm going to be playing it more. So I wanted to get your feedback on what you guys feel about headless guitars. I think a lot of people have the notion that they're not going to like headless guitars. They don't even try them. So automatically they say, well, it's not for me, even without necessarily trying them. So I'm curious to know how many of you actually have tried one, as opposed to just thinking that it's not for you. But we'll get to that after. We got time. We got time. Um, John says he was looking for the poll question, but thought it was from last week. No, it's this week. That's the one. So if you want to vote, you still have time. Shane says favorite aftermarket humbucker, Tony. Uh Humbuckers, I mean, I like the one that's in here, the Jeff Beck JB. This is a Seymour Duncan. Um, that one's usually a good choice. You can't really go too wrong with the JB. Sounds nice, cleans up nice too. This one, like when you're playing with a clean sound, sounds pretty clean. Now, if you do something a little bit heavier, let's say we go, these might be a little bit too loud, guys, because I don't have them set properly. Yeah, that's loud. Sorry, guys. Let me just see something here. I noticed that with my FM9, a lot of the patches that I'm playing through here are not set properly for like streaming. So they're very hot. So this one, for example, I gotta bring this one down quite a bit. Let's see here. Maybe a little higher. I don't know if that's too loud, guys. Tell me if it's too loud. If I'm blasting your eardrums, let me know. I don't want anybody to suffer hearing damage while we're doing the show here. But sometimes I have a hard time just setting the volumes properly here. This one is a little bit, not my favorite sound because it's a little bit murky. I'll go to this one here, but I want to see how loud it is. This one's maybe a bit better. Anyways, you get the drift. So yeah, the JBs are usually a good choice. I like the 57 classics. Those are my go-to. Not a cold time surfing alien. I had on Saturday I went out with some friends, and we went to a pretty loud place, and I was yelling a lot to be heard because we were trying to talk, and I kind of have that Barry White voice happening because of it, and that's it's not a cold. It's just my voice. That's all. Morning voice. It'll get better. Maybe if I drink a little bit of water or something. Mm. So John agrees with me on the Jeff Beck sounds. It's a pretty good all arounder. Yeah, it's fine. And Shane says he owns a he owned a headless Steenberger Spirit, and I guess owned means past tense. Don't have that anymore. A lot of people like them. Those used to be popular. I remember a friend of mine used to have one of those, a black one, way back when. I think in the '80s at some point. And I think even Eddie Van Halen played one of those at one point. He had one that he striped up in the Eddie colors, if you remember that, and played that for a bit. It was a cool guitar, but it never that one in particular never felt right to me because of the guitar shape. It was little, just too rectangular shaped. Never felt good when I was playing it. Um, but that's why this one that I showed you last week was much better. Just felt better. Vox says, I'm still really enjoying my fuzz bender pedal. I'm surprised how many great tones are in this thing. I kind of I wanted to get one, and then I kind of voted against it. I don't know. I watched a few videos and they weren't convincing to me. But maybe I'm just, sometimes videos you don't get the full gist of what the pedal can do, and maybe I will pick one up eventually. I don't know. If you're liking it, that's great to hear. Hey, Paul. Paul says, busy week, all good? David says, can't get enough of your love, babe. Thanks, brother. Yeah, man. Hey, so there was a lot of things happening this week beyond, the poll question and whatnot. There was a few interesting articles and things that happened beyond the fact that we actually have a bit of sun this week, which is always fantastic. I think the big, how can I put this? The news, the big conversation starter for this week is the JHS not a Dumble fiasco. Did you guys hear about this? I'm sure you probably have. It's pretty hard to miss. Everybody's talking about it. I think Josh is becoming quite very smart in terms of drumming up a buzz because he's creating a buzz again, and he's gonna sell a shitload of these not a Dumble pedals. But apparently, I don't know if you know about this, but apparently they discontinued the not a Dumble pedal after about a month that it was out, and everybody was excited by this pedal. And apparently, Josh, when I say Josh, it's Josh Scott, who is the person behind JHS, says they made a mistake with the pedal. Anybody here bought one of those? Hey, Ken, good morning. Good morning, Jason. How are you? Hey, David, what's going on? What wasn't your thing, David? We're having a lot of sideline conversations here, so I'm not sure what you're commenting on there. So the story goes that JHS, who make pedals, we all know them, pedal manufacturer, they discontinued the Not a Dumble pedal. Now, the Not a Dumble pedal is basically their take, sort of the continuation on the Not a Clon pedal that they put out, and the Not a Clon pedal was their take on a clon, and tongue in cheek reference to the IKEA brand with the names, playing around with the naming conventions. Um, so basically, they said that apparently the unit that they put out, the Not a Dumble unit, was put out using the wrong Dumble circuit. And apparently says it's the biggest mistake that he's ever made. And he doesn't. He put out a video trying to explain what happened, and he didn't really know why, but apparently there were some mistakes that were made. Perfect storm situation, and it got through with the wrong schematic. So he explains what happened, and he explains how the clean channel in the Not a Dumble was supposed to be based on John Mayer's Box It Later unit, which is pretty popular, pretty famous. Um, and he had borrowed it from John, in 2019, and he basically kind of cloned the circuit. But apparently they messed up and they put the wrong thing in there. So now I don't know what this exactly means. Like he's saying that they're discontinued, and I don't know if that means that, like, are you gonna get your money back if you got the wrong one, or you're stuck with that circuit. I'm not really sure. I don't know if he mentioned it. Uh, so let me see. I'm trying to get to the bottom of it because I didn't hear the entire story. But apparently, he says the first version of the Not a Dumble is now discontinued. Of the 15,000 units initially planned, only 7,500 remain. So he sold about half of the inventory. And he apparently says JHS will release the final batch on Friday the 23rd. So we missed it. It already was released. And as of now, 2,500 are already built and ready to ship, while the remaining 5,000 will be sold as pre orders, fulfilled at a rate of about 1,000 per week. So he says, so apparently he's still selling the ones that are wrong. So why would you want the ones that are wrong? I'm not really sure. And he says that the second version is already in development. Though there's no set timeline for its release, don't ask me what version 2 is or when it's coming because I don't know either of those yet, he says. In the meantime, JHS is offering full refunds. There we go. For customers who purchased the Not a Dumble. So on either the 5th of May or the 12th of May. So buyers can contact support at jhspedals.com to return their pedal for a refund through the end of June. All right, so at least he's making it right and he's offering a refund. So if anybody here bought one of those, consider this a public service. You're going to be able to get your money back or keep it if you still like it. I don't know how much of a big difference there is. David says he couldn't hear much of a difference between the two circuits. It's tough to compare when the original hardware is so rare. It's true. You know, this is a thing. When somebody's doing a pedal review on a pedal that's supposed to be a clone of a very rare vintage pedal, who knows, right? A Dumble. Has anyone here ever played through a real Dumble? Probably not. So they can sell you anything, really, at the end of it. I mean, all those people that bought the original, I don't know, did any of them complain? Say, hey, this doesn't sound like a Dumble. Probably not. They probably were happy, tickled pink to receive their Not a Dumbles. Yeah, Jason, I agree with you, buddy. Jason says he thinks people are getting way too sucked into marketing. Yeah, we're always jumping from one thing to another, trying to find like the holy grail and trying to get a deal and stuff like that. And sometimes it's like we're just, sometimes we're getting taken advantage of. Hey guys, before I forget, I would appreciate it if you guys could give me some thumbs up. I kind of tend to forget to mention that. And if you guys are new, welcome to the channel. I forgot to mention, there's probably some new people in the house here today. So first of all, welcome if it's your first time participating in the Addicted to Gear live show. Um, I think we're at 255. I don't even remember if I actually updated the counter on the shows. Sometimes I forget. But at least 255 shows in. We do this every Sunday, guys. So if you like gear and you like talking about guitars and music and just general stuff related to guitars and gear and music, then this is the channel you want to be on Sunday, because we usually do this every Sunday, 10:30 Eastern Standard Time. I mean, as much as we can, we don't deviate from that slot. And you guys are welcome. It's an open platform, so don't be shy to comment. And if anybody wants to talk about a specific topic, um, it's always open. You can talk about whatever's on your mind. And I'm not the only one bringing up the topics here. Jason says BC1 boost circuit. What are you referring to here, Jason? And John says that he bought a cheap Rowan mini pedal called the Dumbler. Don't know if it sounds like a Dumble, but I know it's a great sounding overdrive pedal. Well, that's the important thing, is that you like it, because at the end of the day, some people, like, there's a lot of hype about certain pedals out there, like the Klon, for example. That's a big one. A lot of people, go crazy over those pedals, and they cost a fortune now. They're very desirable, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to think they sound good just because it's collectible and rare. Some people that have tried the Dumbles, the clones that are out there, don't like them. So, you know, I'm not a huge fan of the clone. I have a couple of like clones, and although they're not bad, they're not always my go-to pedal. I usually don't necessarily like that circuit most of the time. It's nice to have, but it's not something that I'm going to have on my board all the time. Plus, it's not actually very convenient, right? You have the one I have is the Seriatone version and a few others, and they tend to be the big format pedals. And I try and get away from those big format pedals because they kind of take a lot of room on a board. They're not actually that convenient. And oftentimes they have the ins and outs on the top, while my other pedals might have them on the side. So they're a little bit awkward, and if you're trying to scale down your board, they're not the most convenient. Speaking of boards, I'm in the middle of building another board. I have the one behind me here that you can kind of see on this side here, just on the floor. I can't. Over here, there. I showed it last week. That's my regular board, my go-to. But I wanted to put together a smaller version of that board with like mini pedals only, or the smallest pedals I can fit on there. And I'm gonna try to build something, and maybe even film it and show you guys. I want to try and figure out what pedals I should put on there, and see if I can get those to sound good. Not necessarily. I don't want to put expensive pedals on there, but it's going to be like a secondary pedal board when I don't feel like carrying the big one. Just have a small one ready to go. Um, David says, Tony, I'm perplexed. What's the difference between a riff and a lick? I think the difference between a riff and a lick, like a lick would be part of a solo, like if you're doing, like one of these, that could be part of a solo. That to me is a lick. A riff is that's a riff. A riff could be like part of the song, the chorus or a verse or whatever, but it could be part of a song. That's the difference. At least that's how I think about the difference between a riff and a lick. Do you guys agree with me? Uh, David says that the the no pedals for a year is a good idea. I keep a wish list and try to limit purchases, and inevitably end up getting way over what was planned. Uh, so I'm just trying to see what Jason had said. Okay, so Jason says that he decided to stop for a year buying pedals to work with what I have. I bought tons of pedals I have over the years for a reason. So yeah, it's a good idea. I mean, this that applies to anything really. It could apply to pedals, it could apply to guitars, it could apply to amplifiers. I mean, obviously, if you limit yourself to one, or two, or whatever it is, then you're going to be trying to squeeze out as much of that juice from that lemon as you can, so to speak. And you're not going to be distracted with other stuff. Maybe you'll be more consciously focusing on your playing as opposed to messing around with pedals and stuff like that. That's my Achilles heel, guys. I end up spending more time messing around with gear than practicing. I should be practicing more. I know, I know what the formula is. I just choose not to follow it sometimes because, messing around with gear is more fun. Hey, thank you guys for the thumbs up. We have 35 thumbs up. We have about 59, 60 people here in the house. I appreciate that. Hey, St. Brando's here. Nice to see you, dude. Hey, Brando, I saw your video, by the way, when you were restringing your Jimmy Page guitar. I like that guitar. It's funny because I'm building one of my own based on that guitar. It won't be identical to the one that you have, but it'll be pretty close. It'll be my version of that Jimmy Page Dragon Telecaster. But yours is pretty cool, I gotta say. How are you enjoying it now that you got new strings on it? So John says a lick is a one-time bunch of notes, a riff repeats. Yeah, kind of like, I think that's what I was kind of aiming to say. Eddie says he heard riff is short for rhythm figure, but who knows? Oh, I guess yeah, that makes sense. That's where it probably comes from. You're totally right. Never thought of that. Thank God for Chat GPT. We can figure out everything now. David says it's true. I've been moving and have just one amp and a few pedals set up, totally playing one more and turning knobs less. Well, I have good news because I ended up giving my son a bass, and originally I had tried to get him started on guitar, but he's a little bit, let's just say, not into the practicing. So I gave him a bass the other day because he's a big dude, and he wasn't able to play the bass when he was younger, but now he's bigger than I am. So he's his fingers could stretch. So I said, here's a bass, if you want to learn how to play some stuff. And I gave him a couple of quick lessons, more theory based lessons on where the notes are and how to play and how to figure things out. And I gave him a couple of songs to learn on bass. We'll see. And if he picks it up and becomes better at it, gets those fingers moving, maybe I'll have a bass player to jam along with here at home. Could be fun, you know, a little father son activity, I think. Rico says, AI says, in essence, a riff is about repetition and foundation, while a lick is about a melodic ornamentation and improvisation. So, yeah, I think I wasn't that far off. Fox says that's why I dislike the multi effects unit. It leads to analysis paralysis. It is true. You can definitely go down the rabbit hole with multi effects units, especially if you're not familiar with them. If it's the first time that you're using one, you can have your mind blown because there's a lot of options available. If you've been using them, going from the early versions to what's available now, and you've been exposed to all the in betweens, you won't be that confused because they're all based on more or less the same stuff. They kind of all work the same way. Now, the only difference would be, one would have more tweakability, and others might not. But overall, they're all going to be doing the same thing. Now they all kind of have IRs. They all have their effects patches. You can set up scenes. You can set up the chain of effects. You can move them around. You have your tuner and looper and drum machine. They kind of all have the same stuff. I don't think there's anything that came out recently that is like something completely new that we haven't seen before. So, if you're into it and you've been using them, you kind of know your way around. But if you're coming from using pedals, or maybe not even using pedals and jumping right into a multi effects, then you're in for a little bit of a learning curve. So Saint Brando says that the Dragon Telecaster is fantastic. The 60 profile neck is amazing compared to my 50s profile U neck on my other Telecaster. Very cool. It's a nice guitar to have, man, especially if you're into Jimmy Page. And I'm into Jimmy Page, so I'm going to be happy to build my own. Nella says Firefly has a version of the Dragon. It looks pretty cool. I didn't know that. I didn't know that. I'm gonna check. I'm gonna take that. I'm gonna take a look at that later on. So beyond the not a Dumble or fiasco that we talked about, there was something in the news as well regarding Tommy Lee. And poor Tommy looks like he's single again. Apparently, him and his girlfriend, Brittany, I think her last name is Furlan, have apparently separated again. Tommy. Can't, he can't stick to one girl. Um, so I don't know what the reason is, but apparently there's rumors that they've been living separately for a couple of weeks, and she's saying that it's due to his excessive alcohol consumption, and he's unfollowed her on Instagram, so I guess it's serious. I mean, look, it's Tommy Lee. What do you expect? If he's just abusing alcohol, consider yourself lucky. Um, so now I don't know if this has anything to do with the fact that, Pamela Anderson, if you guys remember Pamela, this is Tommy Lee's old ex-wife, right? He used to, he was with her for a long time, and I think he even has kids with her, if I'm not mistaken. Pamela's been laying low a little bit, and lately she's been doing this, you know, going out natural with no makeup. It's a little scary, I have to say. No offense, Pamela, but the I think the makeup does help. Anyway, so she's been doing this for a while, and she's looking old without any makeup on. I'm being honest here, guys. Um, and lately, last couple of days, lo and behold, she's rocking her usual look with all the makeup, hair, everything. She looked great. So I'm wondering if she's getting ready to zero in on Tommy now that he's a bachelor again. Uh, I'm not sure that's the case, but it seems like there's a lot of coincidence happening in terms of the timeline of all of this. And I just put two and two together. So if you see Tommy and his ex together again, it might just be she's getting ready to swoop in. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, that's not. I don't really care, to be honest with you, but I just thought it was funny because Tommy's always like shacking up, leaving. I guess he's still living the rock and roll lifestyle. Not really sure about that. Okay. What else, guys? Oh, I wanted to mention something because I did mention this last week, I think. This pedal, the PAL 800. This is the gold overdrive version 4. I don't know if you guys know about this pedal or not. It's a great JCM 800 in a box. I did a full review on this pedal. I'll be posting that tomorrow if you guys want to see and hear what this pedal can do. There's a lot of great stuff in this pedal, and if you're looking for a JCM 800 in a box, I highly recommend this pedal. It's made by, these are the Pedal Pal effects. You can get their information online, but it'll all be in my video. The reason I grabbed this is because the amps that I have behind me, I have basically three Marshall styled amplifiers here. We have this guy, Studio Vintage. We have this guy, the Dirty Shirley, and we have this guy, the Brunetti Plexi Man. They're all great in terms of giving you that Marshall tone. but they don't really do the JCM 800. This is basically plexi style. This is basically a JTM 45 style. This is basically a hot rodded plexi, but not necessarily going to give you the 800 sound. So I was considering getting something else to be able to get that sound. And I've been trying to keep my eyes open for another studio, Marshall Studio, but the other one that is supposed to be the clone of the JCM 800, they don't pop up that often. When they do, they're pretty expensive. A real JCM 800, I used to own one a long time ago, and I sold it because it was just too aggressive. I mean, you to get that really nice JCM 800 saturation, you got to crank that amplifier quite a bit. And those are really loud amplifiers. So for me to, play that at home would be very difficult. So I went with the next best thing. I said, let me just grab one of these guys. And if I play this I actually did the demo. I went into a Fender Princeton with this to see if I can get it to sound like a Marshall. And believe it or not, it did the trick with the Princeton. So if I plug this into any of these Marshall style amplifiers, I'll be in JCM 800 heaven, you know, and it won't cost me a fortune. It's a great sound. It's a great sound. If anybody knows that JCM 800 sound, you need to have one of those in your life. Should I get a Kramer Beretta Special and mod it or get a Jackson JS32? I mean, both of those would be great modding platforms. It really depends on what you prefer. The this one is a Beretta Special. The neck on this is rather slim. So if you like slim necks, they're really fun to play. And it also depends if you like just one pickup, because here you basically only have one, right? So, but if you throw a good pickup in these guitars, and I went a little bit ballistic, I went a little bit crazy, and I put a Vega trem in here as well. It makes the guitar so much better, and it's fun to play. And they're really inexpensive, so it really depends on you, man. What kind of mods are you talking about? What are you thinking about doing on those guitars? D. Smith says, I still have my 50-watt JCM and never use it. Way too loud, or am I too old? Got rid of both my Studio Plexi and JCM, replaced with the Friedman JEL or Jackie Lee 20. Well, first of all, congratulations on that amp, because the Jackie Lee amp is great. So I think you're getting the tone that you want, right? At a more manageable volume. 20 watts is perfect because it's still loud, but it's not like ear splitting loud. The type of loudness you're getting out of a JCM 850 water is too much. The Studio Plexi is a great amplifier, but it's not hot rodded. So you're still going to need to put a pedal in front of it, which you can do. You can get a really nice sound out of it. But the Friedman, Friedman makes great amplifiers. If you can get your hands on a Jackie Lee version for not too much money, I think you're going to be extremely happy with one of those. I haven't seen many pop up on the used market here, but I'm always keeping my eyes open for those Friedmans. Damn Friedmans. Nella says, just checked. Firefly no longer has the dragon. Sold out. Nella, are they sold out, or did they get a cease and desist from somebody? Maybe they weren't allowed to sell that. Well, if they're sold out, they probably will come back. I haven't seen them though, but I'm going to take a look. So you've been thinking about getting a Jackson and swapping the bridge to a Goto. I highly recommend doing that. That would be a worthwhile upgrade for the Jackson. because I do feel like the bridge on those Jacksons are not that great. Um, yeah, so that would be good. That's a good idea. That and probably the pickups, and you should be good to go. Jean Pierre has a question. Is there any way to play guitar without having to buy a dedicated amp for it? Yeah, of course. Dude, today there's so many options. You don't have to go crazy and buy an amplifier. Um, there's a few companies that make these little plug-in modules. I just gave one to my son. Do I still have the box here? Yeah, right here. So for example, this guy. NewX makes this. It's called the MP3, the Mighty Plug Pro. And I don't have it in the box. I gave it to my son. The box is empty. But basically, it's a little device. It looks like a jack. You can plug into your guitar. And the way it works is through headphones. You plug headphones into this thing. And basically, you have the sounds of an amplifier through your headphones with effects and everything. And you can actually modify the sounds with your phone. There's an app that comes with it. So, for example, if you want to have let's say a Marshall amplifier, you could have that. You can put delay on it. You can put reverb. You can do all kinds of things. You can put pedals in front of it. Save your settings. I think you can save 4 or 5 settings on the unit, and then have them. You can just recall them by pressing the button. So you can set yourself a clean sound. You can set yourself an overdriven sound. All that good stuff, and um, and you're ready to go. And they're not that expensive. I think these are like $100 maybe around there. I don't know what the prices are right now. So you can have an electric guitar, and you can be playing through your headphones. You don't need to play loud. You're not going to be disturbing anyone, and you can bring it with you. And this is just one. There's Fender makes these things. There's a million companies that make their version of this, and they work really well. Paul says that he also has the same Pedal Pal 800. All of my pedals. It is my in case of fire, grab me. LOL. What version do you have, Paul? They're up to version 4 now. I don't know if you have the latest version or one of the earlier ones. But as I mentioned earlier, I did a review on that pedal. I'll be posting it tomorrow. So if you want to hear mine, uh, I'll be I'll be playing that tomorrow morning. MFN is here. Hey, how's it going, dude? Just jumping in. Perfect. Good timing. Nella recommends the Fender Micro. Yeah, and also one other thing, Jean Pierre, in case you want to get something and you do want to hear it and you don't want to actually play through headphones, NewX also makes a little Bluetooth speaker. It's about this big. It's kind of like the same idea as this, but in a speaker format. So you can actually play through the speaker and actually hear the sound coming from the speaker instead of coming through headphones. Um, and Nella says the Boss Katana. That's another one. Boss Katana Go. There's a lot of them, dude. You just look around, you'll see. There's go on YouTube and just do a search for like uh, I don't know, man. I mean, this is it's a plug. I don't know what you would generally. It's a guitar plug or guitar interface or guitar mini amp. I don't know what you would call it, but you'll see a whole bunch. Nella says Vox has cheap headphone amps too. Marshall has the headphones that you can buy that people like a lot as well. So many. Oh yeah, I wanted to mention. I don't know if you guys heard the news, but apparently Robert Fripp. If you're an old guy like me, you probably know Robert. He used to play for King Crimson. I don't know if you remember that. He's been doing videos on YouTube lately with his wife, but he's still actually touring. He actually had a heart attack recently, just I think a couple of days ago, and it occurred while he was traveling. He was in Italy apparently, for a performance, and he thought he just had like acid reflux, and apparently it was a heart attack. Thankfully, he's good. They had to do some emergency surgery. I guess they put in stents to unblock some arteries or something like that. I mean, after all, the guy is 78 years old. As we get older, we got to take better care of ourselves. Luckily, it wasn't the Widowmaker that he got, because those are even worse. So he was able to, to get the surgery and be released. And I guess he's recovering at home right now. He probably has to rest for a while, and then eventually will resume his tour, his traveling. So yeah, it's a little bit of sad news there. All these old guys. Speaking of old guys, Eric Clapton made the news. And it's funny because he made the news because he was actually moving on stage. Um, I saw a couple of articles whiz by where they were talking about how his performance was great. He really got into it and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, wow, like what's the big hoopla about all this stuff? Then I saw like what they were talking about, one of the videos, and he just had his sleeves rolled up and he was doing a few of these while he was playing, and everybody couldn't believe how animated he was. I think Eric is getting a little old for he can still play, but he looks frail. He looks old, and I don't think Eric Clapton was ever that exciting on stage. Um, I feel like he's a little bit boring. And some of you that are probably Eric Clapton fans here, you might not appreciate the comments that I'm going to make, but at a certain age, it's time to kind of pack it up. And I think he's getting around that age, unfortunately. Um, Nala says the Nuex Mighty 20 Mark II. Let me put this on. The Mark II 20 watt has a headphone output and costs $199. So that is what I was referring to in terms of a combo. Yeah. Thank you for that, Noah. D. Smith says Robert's firecracker wife, Toya, was probably part of the reason for his heart attack. She definitely keeps things spicy, at least on his channel. I'm sure most of the people that are watching are not watching for Robert. They're probably watching because of Toya. But yeah, well, good for him, man. If he can keep things spicy at 78, that's great. David said Eric actually spoke to the audience, which apparently is a big deal. Exactly. I kind of agree with you, David. You know, I liked what he did during the Cream period. That stuff was gold. I really think that was probably the best music he put out there. Um, Stuff that he's doing now, it's like, sleepy time music. David says he can't co-sign on that. I'm all for a man doing what he wants as long as he wants. I mean, yeah, if you can do it, sure. But I mean, I don't know. I just feel like I wouldn't necessarily pay top dollar to go see Eric Clapton right now. If I want to listen to Clapton, I'll just buy some records. Records. Listen to me, the old guy. I'll just stream some of his music. St. Brando says, I saw Eric Clapton with Jeff Beck several years back, and Clapton was a snoozer. Beck, however, I could have watched his set on repeat. Yeah, not the same performance at all, right? Between those two guys. I agree with you, man. Beck, he was always a showman. Clapton just does the regular Clapton stuff, rinse and repeat. So, yeah, Wayne says they put out some very entertaining videos. When you say entertaining videos, I think you're referring to Robert Fripp and his wife. Yeah, I've seen some of those. Mark's gas station says the Blues Breakers Beano album. Yeah, of course, that's the one, right? That's the one that actually launched Eric Clapton's career, I think. So yeah, that's a must. David says, "Don't get me wrong, I'm not going, but if other people show up, he should do it as long as he wants." Sure, and there'll always be people showing up, David. I've seen stars and artists like doing it till you have to practically prop them up, and people still go. And some of those, I don't even know if they're actually even singing anymore. They're probably just doing it on with backing tracks. So there'll always be an opportunity to make some money. That's for sure. So guys, I've been talking quite a bit, but I haven't heard you guys so much. You guys are pretty quiet this week. What's going on? It seems like you're not. People are not necessarily checking out some new gear or anything like that. There's only a few gear questions that popped up. I'm getting worried. Are you guys getting over your gear addiction? Is this where we've come? Let me entice you with something. I also got this thing here recently that I'm gonna probably do a review of here. If you guys don't know what this is a Moore pedal, the GL100. Can you see that? It's a looper pedal and has a drum machine and looper in one. It's pretty cool because it has a touch screen as well. Well, it's not on now, so you can't really see it. But I'll do a review of this pedal. I kind of like it. It's a nice pedal to have on your board. And some of the looper pedals that I've tried in the past are way too complicated for nothing. This one's pretty straightforward, so I'm digging it. I'm gonna see what I can do. And what else do I have on my desk that I can show you here since last time? I got some of these. If you guys don't know what these are, you should. These are I use these as locking devices for my guitars. This is the most inexpensive locking device you're gonna find. These guys here, they're basically bottle cap seals, and the way they work is you just put them between your strap and your little thingy here like this, and you're done. And it locks, and your strap won't fall off. I use these all the time on most of my guitars. They work perfectly well, and I got a whole bunch of these. Also got some new knobs I need to change on one of my guitars, so got a couple of those, and I got a couple of these. You guys will recognize what these are, I'm sure. A couple of these. Thinking about maybe replacing my pick guards on some of my Les Pauls that don't have pick guards currently. I know I asked the question here a couple of times what you guys prefer, with or without pick guards, and a lot of you guys have indicated like on my Les Paul, because of the nice quilt top on it, you prefer without. But I'm just gonna weigh the pros and cons and make a decision on that. See what. Sometimes I like to make a change, and it's not gonna be necessarily permanent, but I like to have a change just to spice things up. Uh, David says he's learning a new song, "Love Fool" by the Cardigans. Cool song to be working on. Nice. Good choice. How far in are you, David? How much longer before you can learn the whole thing? How long does it normally take you to learn a song? I mean, I know that's kind of a general question, but I mean, some songs are easier than others, I'm sure. But are you learning just like the chord changes, or are you really working on all the nuances? Music and Gear says he quit due to just chilling out. And Cushman says, "Nice knobs." Always waiting for a comment like that, Cushman. I knew somebody was going to come up with something. David says, "I recently watched a video that said that the guitar gear boom that started with COVID may have hit saturation." Yeah, I get that feeling too sometimes, David. And that's why you need to change things up a little bit. If you're, maybe we won't have a boom, per se, but I still think there's a lot of people out there still enjoying all of their gear. So uh, I think maybe the new people jumping in on it might have hit the plateau, but there's still a lot of people out there. I'm not really worried. Abby, we have Abby Normal here. I always love that. If you guys never watched Young Frankenstein, you don't know what we're talking about, but Abby Normal was still pretty funny. I giggle every time I think about it. MFN says he's gassing for either a Fender Chris Stapleton Princeton or a Gibson Les Paul Modern Koa. I get to buy one this year. Which one? Oh man, that's not an easy decision. Um, I love, Princetons are great. If you're gonna buy a Princeton and you can afford a Chris Stapleton version, I would say go for it. I don't think you're gonna regret that amplifier. It's very expensive though. I don't know how much of a difference it's gonna make in terms of tone compared to a regular one, but it's an awesome, a great sounding guitar amplifier, in my opinion. So you're never gonna regret having that. As far as the Gibson, let me just see some now. I want to just compare prices. Um, Let me just see what they're going for. In Canada, those are freaking expensive, man. The Gibson is selling for 5 Gs at Long and McQuaid. If it was me, this is just my opinion. Take it with a big grain of salt. I'd go for the Princeton. I'd go for the Princeton. I mean, the guitar is nice looking and all, but it's still, in my opinion, 5 Gs, 4 to 5 Gs in Canada. I don't know how much it is over there. Let me see here. Um, Let me just see how much the amp is going for here. And here I'm comparing local prices here. So the Fender 62 Princeton is going for $3,739. Not inexpensive, but you're in Canada. You're saving yourself 2 Gs. I'd get the Princeton amp, and I'd get myself with the remainder of the money a regular Gibson Les Paul standard, or even an SG or something like that, and I'd be a happy camper. That's what I would do. I think you're gonna lose less money on the amplifier if ever you want to sell it compared to the guitar. I could be wrong. It's just my opinion. What do you guys think? Let's all chime in and help our buddy here make the right decision. He needs help. We have to help him. Peter D says the best affordable Telecaster upgrade from a Squire Affinity. If you're talking about the entire guitar, or not just, I don't know if you're talking about the components on a Squire Affinity, or if you're talking about the next best thing to upgrade to and from a Squire Affinity. The Squire Affinities are kind of like the lowest end that you can get. You can definitely get quite a bit of a bigger step up, even just going with a Squire Classic Vibe Telecaster. Those are great. You can get a lot of bang for your buck. Then obviously next would be a Mexican Telecaster, and so on and so forth. But you don't have to stick with Fender. I mean, a lot of companies out there make their version of a Telecaster these days, so you can get quite a bit of bang for your buck. But if you want to stick with Squire, then just get yourself a Classic Vibe. I used to have a Classic Vibe. I had two of them actually. One was like a 52 reissue type style, the butterscotch one. Played great. I like that guitar a lot. I have a video review on that guitar, and a lot of people. I played that one, and I played the 52, the actual American 52, reissue, and most people preferred the sound of the classic vibe, believe it or not. If I could find that video, I'll show you. I'll put the link here. That's an old video. That was like a video I did probably over 10 years ago. But it's still, people are still commenting on that video even today. It's amazing. Let me just see here if I can find it for you guys. I'm sure I have it here somewhere. There's so many videos. Here we go. Yeah, I did that video 11 years ago, guys, and it's 137,000 views. I'll post a video here for you guys. If you guys want to see that. You can tell me which one you think sounds better, but most people that watched this video were more impressed with the sound of the Squire, believe it or not. So it's not necessarily the how much you pay that makes the difference. So let's see. Searching for tone. Oh, let's scroll back a little bit here. All right. So David says I got a good ear, so it's usually not too long to learn. I'm working on smooth transitions between verses and choruses. All right. Yeah, you got to work on that ear. That's the most important thing when you're playing music. When you're playing music, is really to have a good ear. Abby says, "Walk this way, this way." Mr. Fats says, "Hi peeps." And Abby says Princeton. So he agrees with me. Vinny's World says, been looking at amps, but don't think my neighbors will be able to tolerate the volume of even a 1 to 5 watt tube amp. So you're better off spending your money on something like a fractal, Vinny. Just get yourself a fractal. You're not going to be bothering anyone. And you'll be happy for a long time, trust me. Hey, Abby says the 61 standard SG, that's my go-to, man. So I would say get the Princeton and the SG, and you'll be happy with that. I guarantee it. Mr. Fat says, "What do you dudes on here think of those silly digital guitars with those silly effects? I think they are sort of like toys." Does Tony agree too? Which one are you talking about now? There's a lot of those. Are you talking about the ones that have like the built-in speakers and all that kind of stuff, or are you talking about the ones that are like they're not actual guitars? They have like lights here and stuff. Yeah, a lot of them are not very useful, in my opinion. Like they're more for kids. I don't see anybody playing out with a guitar like that. So if you're looking for something maybe for practice, something that you want to have as maybe a travel tool or something like that, where you don't care if it gets wrecked, perhaps. But yeah, some of them are just a little bit too out there. At least I don't know if we're talking the same thing, Mr. Fats. If you tell me a specific model, then I could comment a little bit more directly to what you're saying here. Searching for tone says I'd always go with the Princeton. AB says standard. Music and Gear says a louder amp may get you better neighbors. That's a good point. I like the way you think. And Jack also says I would have to go with the Princeton. Davis Music says Princeton will showcase the unique tones of different guitars, amp all the way. Yeah, I would say so too. Cushman says Princeton. David says I'm not huge on that Koa top, and in general I say go with the harmonic generator, the amplifier. Yeah, I think so too. Yeah. And MFN says thanks. Looking at the Princeton. Yeah, man, get the Princeton. You'll be the envy of a lot of people with that amplifier. That's a great amplifier, by the way. If I had the cash, I'd go for one of those. I ended up going the cheap way, and I built my own hand wired version. That's what you have. That's what I have behind me here, and I don't know if you guys have seen it. I'm sure most of you have, but maybe the new guys haven't. That guy there, that's a hand built. That's a kit and a hand wired kit. And I learned a lot by making that kit. And I'd do another one. I'd make another kit in a heartbeat. I'm rolling over my headphone wires. I hate when I do that. Yeah, I learned a lot, and I highly recommend it. If you guys have the guts and the courage and a little know-how, you can build your own guitar from a kit and learn a lot. Mr. Fat says, yes, those built-in guitar effects with built-in speakers with sound apps like the ones sold on Amazon. Some made out of plastic or carbon fiber. I know which ones you're talking about. Yeah, most of them are like uh, what I would say they're throwaway items. You'll use them for a while. They'll gather dust. You'll either sell them if you can, or end up throwing them away. I wouldn't necessarily spend my money on that stuff. Profile Production says, get a Dumble. Yeah, get a Dumble for sure, man. You can afford one. All right. What else did I have on the talking points for today? Let me just see something real quick here. Oh yeah, I got something that made me feel happy, made me like smile a little bit, and that's the fact that Geddy Lee and Alex Lifeson hit the stage the other day randomly, apparently, and they were joined by Primus and Matt Stone from South Park. And the crowd went from 0 to like legendary in seconds as they launched into Closer to the Heart. No one saw it coming, but everyone knew they were witnessing something unforgettable. So it's great to see them, like, jump on stage from time to time and, knock one out of the park. And it warms my heart knowing that maybe someday we might see them play again, even if it's just like limited a couple of times, maybe. Um, that would be a good thing. And also, another kind of feel good story, I think, although it's kind of morbid. But apparently, after 37 years of absence, the bust of Jim Morrison that was on his tombstone, on his grave, which was stolen in 1988. This is in France, right? He's um, Jim Morrison's buried in France. Has actually, so that bust has actually been found, and I think it's been returned to his gravesite. Now I don't know if they're going to steal it again. Unfortunately, though, I don't know if anybody here has ever been to the Morrison grave or anything like that, but I've seen pictures of it, and it's a little sad because it's covered in graffiti. Although there's fans there that go and visit. A lot of people go visit that site still today, but it's just covered in graffiti. So that's a little sad. David, thank you for stopping by. I'm glad you can stop in. Steven says, I was lucky enough to see Rush twice. I saw Rush too, and it was one of the greatest shows because they played almost all of their classics during that show. They weren't really focusing on the new stuff. It was really like all the hits, and they did a great job. And they did have the was it the washing machines or the rotisseries? I think it was rotisseries at on that concert. I don't know if you guys know, but in a lot of Rush concerts, they have like these gags going on, and behind them, some bands have rows of amplifiers and stuff like that, and or lights or pyrotechnics or something like that. Rush used to have funny things. One time they had chicken rotisseries, where they had a whole bunch of chickens, cooking on stage. And every once in a while, some dude in a little chef hat would come out while they were playing and just check the chickens and see if they were done. And another time they had washing machines and they had like laundry, just washing stuff while they were playing. That was the what they were using as background sets, and it was funny, and I love that. It's just like you don't have to be music doesn't have to be so serious all the time. So just having fun with it. Yeah, David says that if you spray paint a grave, I don't think you're a good fan. Yeah, me neither. It's not the right thing to do. But I guess people don't really care, right? Alonzo says I must defend my Enya Next G. I love it as a travel guitar. I have reviewed that guitar actually, and to me that doesn't fall into the category that we were talking about. But anyway, yeah, some people do love those guitars. Vinny's World says, "Oh, by the way, Foo Fighters tickets went on pre-order lottery system." So, a Foo Fighters fan here, eh? So, what's going on with the drummer now? Any news on that? I don't know what it is, but it's open. It's like open season on drummers lately. First there was the Foo Fighters drummer. Actually, it started off with even before the Foo Fighters drummer. It started off with Jason Bonham, where Sammy Hagar gave him the boot and replaced him. Then later on, we hear about the Starkey, the Who's drummer, right? This is Ringo Starr's son, got booted off of the concert with them. And then we hear the Foo Fighters drummer gets the boot. Who else? I think there was even another drummer, if I'm not mistaken. I heard about. Anyway, seems like everybody's getting rid of drummers. I don't know. Have we gotten to the stage in music today where band members are, disposable? It seems to be the case. Like these guys are just like next. You know, I don't know what's going on with that. It seems weird that all of a sudden everybody's like dumping their drummers. Well, Tommy Lee's available. If anybody's looking for a drummer, you can always get Tommy Lee to play for you since he's got more time on his hands. And the funny thing is the whole Starkey thing. Uh, it was like he was fired, then he was rehired, then he was fired again 2 weeks later, and there was some kind of excuses being made. And I don't know what's going on. So I don't know if he's back or if he's not. I don't know. It's very confusing. There was a statement made by the members. Pete Townsend actually said that after many years of great work on drums from Zach, the time has come for a change, a poignant time. Zach has lots of new projects in hand, and I wish him the best. Scott Devours, who has been working with Rogers' solo band, will join The Who for our final shows. Please welcome him. So he's making it sound like Zach chose to leave because he's got other things to do, which I don't think is the case. So I don't know what the real story is. I think Zach put out a post saying that he was fired 2 weeks after being reinstated and asked to make a statement saying that I had to quit The Who to pursue my other musical endeavors. This would be a lie. So this is what we're hearing right now. So the, basically, Pete Townsend's bullshitting us, right? Um, so they asked him to say that. I don't know why this is the case, but he says, I love The Who and would never have quit, so I didn't make the statement. Quitting The Who would also have let down the countless amazing people who stood up for me. Thank you all a million times over and more. Through the weeks of mayhem for me, going in and out and in and out like a bleeding squeeze box, he says. To clarify other projects, yes, I do have other projects and always have. The Who have been sporadic or minimalistic in touring most years apart from the two extensive tours in 2000 and 2006 and 7. So to be precise, while I was in The Who between 1996 and 1999, I had other projects with Johnny Marr, Lightning Seeds, and Mike Scott. So between 2000 and 2003, Johnny Marr and the Healers opened for Oasis in Europe, releasing album and 6-month world tour between 2004 and 2008. Um, anyway, so he's talking about the people that he's played with, uh, and he's basically says, as you see, there's always been time for other projects. Uh, None of this has ever interfered with the Who and was never a problem for them. The lie is or would have been that I quit the Who. I didn't. I love the Who and everyone in it. So I don't know what the story is, but it seems like there's something funny going on there. Unfortunately, that's what it is. That's the music business, folks. You're here today, you're gone later today. Mr. Fat says some bands don't use a drummer live anymore. It's like digital drums now. Yeah, but if you're paying to go see a band like The Who, that, their core music was based on flamboyant drumming, and you're going to replace a drummer. Like, first they said he was playing too loud, he was playing too, like, aggressively, which I don't understand. I mean, come on, it doesn't make any sense. Anyway, Nella says some people crap on Ringo, but when he sat in for Pete Best, John and the boys knew they had found their drummer. And David says, I'm really looking forward to seeing Oasis in the summer, in September. Sorry, not the summer, September. I just hope the brothers get along till then. Yeah, that's always the $1,000,000 question. Are they still going to be around? Or are they still going to be together? Or are they going to have another falling out? We never know, right? Let's get to the poll question, folks, because it's getting a little bit late. And I'm sure you guys have other things to do. So let me pull that up. Give me a sec. We'll take a look at that together. All right. So we have a few more votes since this morning. All right. That's cool. All right. So the question this week was, what's your take on headless guitars? So we have 288 votes so far. And out of the 4 possible answers, the most popular answer at 36% was absolutely not. Looks like the guitar got decapitated. So I'm assuming that the 36% of you that feel this way have all tried headless guitars, right? Or are you just talking about looks alone and you wouldn't even want to try one of those guitars? But we have a tie between 2 second place answers at 26%. One is kind of cool, but I still prefer a headstock. 26% of you said that. And another 26% of you said, meh, not my thing, too weird looking. So only 12% of you said, love them, sleek, modern, and super comfy. So the majority of you guys don't necessarily like headless guitars. I get it. I mean, I'm not necessarily a huge fan of headless guitars, but I was pretty much converted after trying the E-Art guitar that I reviewed, and I wasn't expecting that to happen, but it did. Now there are some comments here, and I'd like to just read a couple to you guys and see what other people are explaining here. Um, Dr. Dark says, I'm in the camp of not for me. The guitar neck looks decapitated without a headstock. Although I also hate the Fender Strat big headstock of the 70s, as it looks ridiculous for a headstock to be twice as wide as the guitar neck itself. But I love the normal size headstocks on Strats. But the headstock I like best are Jackson Ibanez modern ESP guitars designed not to be hockey stick. He doesn't like the hockey stick headstocks. I like 6-in-line tuners, not 3x3, has too many issues with Gibson 3x3, but I hate the look of headless guitars. So he's very specific in terms of what he likes in terms of headstocks. You can see it's like not any headstock will do. It's got to be a very specific one. I get it. And I often, I feel like I'm very picky about headstocks too on guitars, and I'll avoid buying a guitar, even though it could be a very, very good guitar, um, if it doesn't, if it has a goofy looking headstock. But having no headstock doesn't bother me. But having a goofy looking headstock like the old Epiphone headstocks, I don't like them. So I'll avoid buying those guitars. So I get it. I get it why people are very picky. Um, and so Guitar Vacation says I was an early headless adopter. Not because I'm ahead of the curve, but because of Alan Holdsworth. Um, I got a headless Holdsworth guitar when the guitars were still under the Carvin name. Still have it, impeccable instrument. I do remember vaguely Alan Holdsworth did have a headless guitar back in the day. And he's into the whole fusion thing. So, for him it was like an avant-garde instrument, you know. But he still so Guitar Vacations has one and he loves it. And Motorose Music says I had an 86 Steinberger or Steinberger, however you pronounce it, bass with passive pickups, best bass I ever owned. So there you go. And Johnny Bean says I play four. So he's got four of them. Very cool. And then Burnt Relic says, never played one, but it looks like a great couch guitar or a guitar to practice while standing or walking at least. I love one for that reason. I can't speak. I lust after the Strandberg because the leg carve for playing in classical position, and I think that their patented neck shape would benefit me greatly. But their price tag is a hurdle. I agree with that. Ibanez would be second choice, I think, but no leg carve. The lower weight on headless is a big plus, and no effing neck dive. So I'd be in for a hardtail. I don't think Ibanez has headless guitars. Do they? I don't think they do. And I'll just read one last one. Our very own Paul says, I love him, but as a guitar, I do not have wait. I love him, but as a guitar, I do not have, not because they are better or worse. I'm just reading word for word what you're writing there, Paul. A little bit, maybe you typed a little bit too quick. He says, however, unlike 99% of other guitars with interchangeable hardware upgrades or indeed even replacing is not a given. The best headless sell through stores, so they are committed to service. In short, if they have a whammy that breaks or needs parts, and often they make their own custom made parts, you can get them. Okay, so I think I understand what you're trying to say, and that's a good point. What Paul was trying to say is that a lot of these guitars that have headless guitars that are made overseas don't necessarily have replacement parts available for them. So if you're buying one of those guitars and you expect to keep it long term and something breaks on the guitar, you might have trouble finding a replacement bridge or a replacement, attachment for holding the strings over here or whatever. So it's a great point. And what he's trying to say is if you buy a more expensive guitar through a store, then they normally will have parts for those guitars. So you're probably better off looking at one of those as opposed to, something off of Amazon, for example. That's a good point. I agree with you there on that, Paul. Thank you for that comment. Nella says Pete Townsend can only hear the drums. Yeah, pretty much at this stage. And Mr. Fat says, not a fan of headless ones. Too much hassle getting used to the new setup. Not a fan of reverse headstocks either. Just too much work getting used to the new setup. I don't really agree with that. I don't think the headless guitars are hassle. There's not much to them, man. It's like there's nothing really different. It's just, you're tuning here instead of tuning there. That's the only difference. Nella says, even though the headless guitar design is functionally superior to a traditional design in a lot of ways, I don't like them. They look like toys. I'm a boomer though. But you know what? I do agree with one of the comments that was stated earlier, that you can actually use that as a good travel guitar. It's a great guitar to be playing when you're on your sofa, and you're just watching a show or something. And it's like it's so small, compact. It's like you don't have to worry about hitting the headstock anywhere when you're in a tight space or anything like that. So there's a lot of advantages. All I'm saying, guys, I'm not trying to change your mind, but all I'm saying is try one before you actually decide, because you might be surprised. Jack says, I'm all for the guitar. If it does the job, I don't care about headstock either way. So Enrico says, I ordered a used mint Ibanez Satriani on Reverb. Seller shipped it loose in a generic loose fitting case. Guitar arrived damaged. Went through Reverb buyer protection, full refund, and kept the guitar. Oh well, there you go. Well, Rico, yeah, he says my next project. I was gonna say, Rico, you know what to do. Hopefully, the damage is not too serious. What was the damage, by the way, Rico? Just out of curiosity, was it a paint chip or something like that, or was it something more serious? Mr. Fat says most players mostly want the headstock for the logo of the brand with headless. We can't see the name on it. That's one of the things I like about the headless guitars. You don't have to worry about the brand. It doesn't matter. There is no brand. You don't need to see the brand. That's it's a good thing for the all the cork sniffers out there, right? You don't need to know what it is. Just listen to the guitar and play it. All right. Well, guys, that was a poll question for this week. On the just a little last reminder, please hit the little like button if you haven't already done so. I would appreciate that. I think we're gonna wrap it up for today, unless you guys have some other questions or other technical questions that you want to ask. I'm just waiting for Rico. I'm curious to know what kind of damage he has on his Satriani guitar. Uh, and yeah, we'll pretty much call it a day. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. I hope you guys had a good time, and we'll be tuning in again because we have some great stuff lined up for you for next week as well. And please don't forget to subscribe. If you guys are new and it seems like there was a few new names this week, then please subscribe to the channel. You'll be helping us out. And I encourage you guys to jump in on the live shows as much as possible, because this is where all the meat and potatoes happen. Oh, and one last thing before I forget, guys. I will be offering a freebie on the channel soon. Okay. And since you guys are here religiously, I want to make sure you guys know about this before you leave. There will be an offer that I'll be posting soon on the channel. You'll see the video, and you'll be able to get a totally free package that I'm going to be offering to the viewers. Okay. So stay tuned for that and get ready to jump on that so that you can be one of the lucky winners walking away with some free stuff. I'm not going to tell you what it is yet. I'm just going to tell you it's something that sounds good. Okay. That's all I want to say for now. Mr. Fats had a question here, so I'm going to answer. He says, question for Tony. Um, has he taken up other instruments to learn to play? Yeah, I have actually, Mr. Fats. Um, Bass, guitar, drums. At one point, I actually took drum lessons. And I do dabble on the piano. There's a little keyboard there as well. So as you can see, I'm a master of many things, but, or you know what they say, jack of all trades, you can call me, master of none. Rico says headstock chips, misaligned neck. Worse was the trem bolt insert had a vertical crack in the wood He kept the trem bar on. Ooh, who is this guy? Like, that's a rookie mistake. You don't do that. Oh, man. Vertical crack in the wood. Wonderful. Well, you're going to have, it seems like it's all repairable, but you're going to have your hands full for sure. Yeah, please do, Rico. Send me some pictures. That's terrible, man. But hey, you got your money back and you got a project guitar. So it could have been worse. It could have been worse. Of course, they're gonna try to blame UPS, and I'm sure UPS has something to do with it too. But if the box is wrong and he shipped it like that and he kept the whammy bar in, it was bound to happen, UPS or not. Vox says he can play the triangle. Cool. Triangle and harmonica. That's one thing I always wanted to learn. Harmonica. Got to learn how to play that. But I think I should focus on guitar first. All right, guys. Thank you for making my Sunday a lot of fun. I really do appreciate it and look forward to these live shows. Hope you guys had a good time too. We'll be doing this again, so please stay tuned for the next update as to when that's going to happen. All right. Take it easy, boys. Go out there and enjoy your instruments and get out there and rock. See you soon.